What's going on, everybody? Derek J407 here on September 1st, 2018. Please remember that date because that is the date that the All In pay-per-view aired live from the Sears Centre in Chicago, Illinois. The biggest indie wrestling show in history, however they build it. The All In show, the Cody Young Bucks produced, distributed, created show was started off as an idea, started off as a tweet from Dave Meltzer last year that Ring of Honor in no future can sell out a 10,000 seat arena. Cody and the Young Bucks, they kind of took that, although if you hear them on Talk is Jericho, their idea was already there, but that kind of just served as further motivation to put this plan into motion. And here we are all these months later, a year later, and this shit became a reality. They sold out within, 30 minutes without too many huge matches being announced. And that was without names like Rey Mysterio or Chris Jericho or CM Punk or anything like that being announced. They bet on themselves. They put a lot of money into this show. A little too much, hence the over-budget Battle Royal. But, this was a big deal. You can't look at this show and not think it's a big deal. Very historic for wrestling, and all that was really left was for them to put on a great show. And I'm not, saying this just to say it. This was a genuinely good show. With a lot of the guys in matches on this show, the guys that you had, people like Okada and Marty Scurll, Kenny Omega, Pentagon Jr., a lot of the drama behind some of the stories, like with Cody and Nick Aldis for the NWA World title, and just different things like that. You're bound to have a good show, and this was a genuinely incredible show from start to finish. Not every single match is what I would call a blow-away match or anything like that, but all of them delivered in the ways that they should have delivered, and I was very impressed. I did order the pay-per-view. I signed up for the Honor Club membership and ordered it through that way, so I was happy to pay for it. I saw people asking for streams so they could do illegal streams of the show. Don't understand that, but whatever. I don't know. I'm not gonna pretend like I've never done that before, but as I've gotten older and as money income has become much more consistent, I see if I want to see a show, I'm going to pay to see that show for the most part. So that's just me. But no, this was a great show all the way from the pre-show, which honestly was one of the best pre-shows I have seen in a long time. We're used to WWE's pre-shows, and New Japan has pre-shows for the most part, but I usually don't watch them. I usually just go right into the show, and to be honest with you, I don't always watch WWE pre-shows either. But I wanted to watch this pre-show. It was aired on WGN America, which is a Chicago-based channel. The first match on that pre-show, as they called 0 Hour, was the Briscoes, Jay and Mark Briscoe, versus SoCal Uncensored members Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, dressed in their Rocky garb. Kazarian was Rocky, and Scorpio Sky was dressed as Apollo Creed. This was a fun tag team match, a lot of just craziness. SCU, SoCal Uncensored, were insanely over in this match. Just a fun tag team match, and even all 5 hours of this entire show, all the way to the end, this was still one of my favorite matches of the entire night, and it was the very first match that took place. The finish saw the Briscoes going for a Doomsday Device. So Kazarian was up on Jay's shoulders. Mark was going for a crossbody. He was about to go for the Doomsday Device, and in doing so, Kaz caught him with basically a slam off of Jay's shoulders onto the mat, and got a schoolboy to get the win. So, big win for SoCal Uncensored. And then we had the over-budget Battle Royal with just a lot of faces in it. The winner to receive a Ring of Honor World Championship match later on in the night. People like Bully Ray were in this match, Tommy Dreamer, Billy Gunn, Colt Cabana, the Best Friends, Chucky T and Trent Beretta. You had Brian Cage in there, Hurricane Helms was in there, Punishment Martinez was in there, Rocky Romero, Cheeseburger, Jordan Grace, a woman wrestler, she was in there. She had a back and forth with Brian Cage, even eliminated him. Then Bully Ray eliminated her. It came down to Colt Cabana and Bully Ray. Bully managed to eliminate Colt Cabana despite his use of chairs. Bully managed to eliminate him, and then a masked individual, I couldn't catch his name, he was wearing all green. You could tell it was somebody though, because he came back in, eliminated Bully, and it turned out to be Flip Gordon, who on Being the Elite, the Young Bucks YouTube show that I'm sure all of you know, they've been running the gimmick that Flip Gordon can't be booked for this show, and he managed to find a way onto it, hiding under a mask, and won this over-budget Battle Royal to get a Ring of Honor World Championship match later on in the night. Was a little disappointed that Neville couldn't have been in that spot, but honestly, it's okay. It makes sense to do with Flip Gordon because it was a payoff to a story involving him, so that was good. So the opening match was MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman. Not too familiar with him, so I was very intrigued to see what he would bring to the table in this opening match. Took on Matt Cross, who we all know, I'm sure, as Son of Havoc in Lucha Underground. Had a pretty good match. MJF was working over Cross's shoulder for the majority of the match. At one point, he hit him with a package shoulder breaker. You heard that right. It looked like he had him in position where it looked like he was about to hit him with a package pile driver, but instead he slammed him shoulder first onto his knee. So it was a package shoulder breaker that the commentators called it. By the way, the commentators were Ian Riccaboni, Don Callis, and I completely forgot the other guy who was on there, but Don Callis got to call the show, so that was cool. But Matt Cross won with the Shooting Star Press, so big win for him, and a nice little way to open up the show. They cut backstage to an interview with Sean Mooney. They said that he was about to interview Christopher Daniels, but instead it was Nick Aldis, the reigning NWA World Champion, at least at this time. So Sean Mooney, good to see him. Was a big fan of him back in the WWF days, back in the 90s. So cool to see him have a prime spot on the show to interview the world champion. But this did lead into the next match, which was Daniels versus Stephen Amell, who is Oliver McQueen on Arrow. A show that started out great and then just took a nosedive, and now is honest. I don't even know what it is now because I just haven't watched in like 2 seasons now, so I'm completely out of the loop on what that show is. I watch Black Lightning now, and I might check out that Batwoman thing with Ruby Rose when that comes out later in the year, but those CW superhero DC shows, I'm kind of tapped out with them. But Stephen Amell, as you remember from that appearance in WWE with the Stardust and at SummerSlam that year, he has been training to wrestle. He even wrestled with the Bullet Club earlier this year, so he was on this show. And you know, he's not a trained wrestler, so take that in mind. He's still an actor, but he is training to be a wrestler, and for an actor training to be a wrestler, he's not entirely terrible. Jerry Lynn was the special referee for this match, and he played a part into something later on, where both guys were outside the ring. They were about to get counted out, and Jerry Lynn went out there and just picked them both up, put them both back in the ring. Of course, Daniels was not too happy about that, but it was what it was. Now, what led them to being out there was a table was set up by, I believe, Stephen Amell earlier on in the match, I should say, and both men were on the top rope. Daniels got knocked off, and he landed on the apron right next to the table. He got up and kind of slid onto the table, so he was in position to be given a elbow drop from Stephen Amell. So Stephen Amell dove off the top rope, Daniels moved and Amell crashed through the table. So that led to them both being on the outside. Both were back in the ring. At one point, Daniels was throwing blows at Amell, and Amell was just telling him, like, give me another one. It even led to him flicking him off at one point, flipping him the birds. And Daniels eventually hit the best moonsault ever and got the win over Stephen Amell. They shook hands. Hands were both raised at the end of the match. So good. The right person won. Stephen Amell should not be beating Christopher Daniels, that's for sure. The match was very spotty. There was a lot of botches, a lot of missed, just a little herky-jerk spots in there. Stephen Amell is not the best at selling, but hey, he's learning. He's an actor, and dude has a lot more dedication than a lot of other actors who have wrestled in gimmick matches on these wrestling shows in the past. So I give him all the credit in the world, and if he wants to keep doing it, keep at it, all power to him. Up next, we had a fatal four-way match with some women. We had Tenille Dashwood, the former Emma, and Mandy Leon. They were on commentary. I'll get to them in a second. But we had in this match Tessa Blanchard versus Chelsea Green versus Britt Baker and Madison Rayne. So, four very talented women in this match. Britt Baker, who is the current girlfriend of Adam Cole, she made her entrance with Adam Cole's theme music, which I thought was cool. I'm surprised the Young Bucks signed off on that, considering the fact that to them, Adam Cole is still a ghost, the last time I checked. So I thought that was pretty cool that she was able to do that. Chelsea Green came out in her Laurel Van Ness garb, the bride stuff and the messed up makeup that she was doing in TNA for a while back then. Of course, Madison Rayne coming out looking great, and Tessa Blanchard came out, and in the aisleway was her dad, Tully Blanchard, and right next to him on the other side was Magnum TA in a wheelchair being wheeled out by a kid. I don't know if it was his grandson or whoever it was, but I thought it was really cool to see Magnum TA. Of course, Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard, one of the most famous wrestling matches of all time, their I Quit match for the U.S. Championship all the way back in the 80s. So I thought it was really cool to see him out there. This was a great match up to this point. This probably was the best match out of the three first matches on this show. Everyone impressed in this match, particularly Chelsea Green, who I'm not entirely familiar with. I know she was on that last season of Tough Enough in WWE, and like I said, Laurel Van Ness in TNA. At one point she hit the broski boot. I forgot who she hit it on, but she did hit the move. And of course she is dating Zack Ryder, and I know she does not like to be referred to as Mrs. Zack Ryder, but then when you do his moves, you kind of open yourself up for that, but it's whatever. It came down, at one point during this match, there was a standing ovation. I think it happened after Chelsea hit, I believe it was a Canadian Destroyer on Tessa Blanchard, and I think she either kicked out or there was a breakup, and I think that's when the fans gave this match a standing ovation, because all four women were kicking ass in this match. At one point, everyone did dives and all that kind of stuff, which, doing dives in the match is so cliche, that's going to get a reaction, but everyone did a really good job. The finish, however, was not all that great. Tessa Blanchard hit a hammerlock DDT on Chelsea Green, and the referee counted 3, but we couldn't really tell because it looked like Britt and Madison broke it up, and we're thinking, okay, well, they broke it up, but then the bell rings and Tessa's music starts to play, so it was a little weird looking finish there. The referee, he did hit the mat 3 times, but just couldn't really hear it all that well. It was kind of like he was giving it a love tap almost, but still a good match despite the wonky finish. All 4 women gave each other a group hug after the match, so that was really cool to see all of them together like that. Tenille Dashwood and Mandy Leon on commentary were not great. They were quite distracting at times, but it wasn't about them. It was about the 4 women in the match, and the 4 women in the match did a great job. Up next, a match that I thought would be the main event, but was not, and it happened here. It was the NWA World Championship match. Nick Aldis, the champion, defending against Cody, of course. I was shocked that this wasn't going to go on last, and looking back at this show, if one thing I could change, it would be to put this match on last. Well, if there's one thing I could change is to time out your matches better. We'll get to that later, but no, this definitely should have been the main event. But it was still a really good match. The story heading into it, Nick Aldis, the former Magnus from TNA, he's been the defending NWA champion for the last little while now. The rebranding, the rebooting, basically, of the NWA with Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana and Nick Aldis, all of them together, working together to bring prestige and importance back to the NWA championship, a championship that hasn't meant dick in years. And now with their YouTube format, they've done a really good job. Nick is a defending champion all around the world. He's been doing great. And of course, Cody, son of Dusty Rhodes, 39 years it was when Dusty Rhodes won the NWA championship back in the day. So big deal it would have been for Cody to win it here. So a lot of emotion, a great story heading into this match. So you knew it was going to be a big match feel to it. Both men had entourages. Cody came out with the likes of DDP, Tommy Dreamer, I think Brandy Rhodes' dad, and of course Brandy Rhodes looking unbelievably gorgeous. And even their dog, I think it was Pharaoh is the name of their dog. Nick came out with Jeff Jarrett, Sean Daivari, Samuel Shaw from TNA fame. He's in NWA now, so all of them were out there. And so it's a big fight feel to it. The match starts, a lot of basic stuff early on, but things took a big turn on the outside. Cody was going for a dive onto Aldis on the outside, and then Aldis caught him midair with a forearm that I thought caught him in the ribs, but I guess it caught him in the head. And Cody was kind of on his knees, had his head underneath the ring bell table. There was basically a skirt on the table there, and he kind of had his head under it. The referee was checking on him. The referee threw up the X sign. DDP came out to check on him. Eventually Daivari came out there with the white towel, and he kind of shoved DDP back on his ass. He got in the ring, was yelling at the referee, and then DDP got in the ring, laid him out with the diamond cutter to a huge pop. Went back to check on Cody, and then the referee told him to get out of there, so he got out of there. So the match proceeds, and Cody comes out bleeding, just oozing blood. So clearly he probably bladed underneath that table. And of course he dyed his hair back blonde, so it was much clearer to see the blood. But Cody, he comes out swinging. He fights. He takes on Nick Aldis, but then he goes for a moonsault and misses. So that was kind of his wrongdoing there. At one point, Nick Aldis hit him with a running power slam on the outside. Back in the ring, he locked him in the sharpshooter. Cody was grabbing towards the rope, the side that Brandy Rhodes was on the outside, and he managed to get to the ropes, and she was telling him, don't do this. You don't have to do this. Nick Aldis ended up hitting him with a pile driver right in the middle of the match. You would think he would end it there, but no. He went up top and threatening to hit him with the elbow drop. Brandy got in the ring. She covered herself on top of Cody. Nick hit the elbow anyway and ended up elbowing Brandy and Cody at the same time. Ian Riccaboni on commentary was thinking that he did it on purpose. The fans thought he did it on purpose. They were chanting, "You're an asshole." But you could tell his facial expression, he did not mean to do that. So I thought that was really cool. This all led to Cody coming back into it. He had a beautiful disaster kick and then hit him with the crossroads, but Nick counted out, so only good for a 2 count. They fight a little bit more, and we get to the finish. Cody Irish whips Nick into the ropes. Nick comes back going for a sunset flip, but while he was on his back and trying to pull Cody down, Cody kind of planted himself on top of him, pulled his legs forward, and basically rolled him up and got the 1, 2, 3. The commentator stopped talking. There was no immediate music or announcement or anything like that. It was just 1, 2, 3, and you just heard an eruption from the crowd. The crowd went absolutely apeshit insane over this. It was a great moment. Cody winning the NWA World Championship 39 years after his father did on a big show like this. It was an incredible moment. So now Cody can go back and forth between New Japan, ROH, and any shows where he has to defend the NWA World Championship like Nick Aldis was doing. He was making the rounds all over the place defending that title. So now that's Cody Rhodes' job. But like I said, this should have ended the show in all honesty. But yeah, if I could do anything, I'd probably just reverse the order of this match in the main event and then cut back on time for some of the other matches on this show. And I think he would have had time to have that match finish and the post-match celebration and all that kind of stuff and still go off the air with time to spare. Or at least right on at the cutoff without having to rush through it or being cut off right at the finish. But good stuff here. That doesn't diminish anything here, though. Still great stuff. Up next, we had a street fight, a Chicago street fight. Bad boy Joey Janela with Penelope Ford in his corner, taking on Hangman Page. This was going off of a storyline on Being the Elite, which a lot of the matches behind the show were doing. Hangman Page murdered Joey Ryan. So Joey Ryan is dead, and now I guess he's taking his aggression on all Joeys. So hence we get this match. There was a use of a literal Cracker Barrel in this match. A barrel with the Cracker Barrel logo on it. They mentioned, Cody and the Young Bucks did, that Cracker Barrel was a sponsor of the show, one of the few sponsors on the show. They catered the show, and so they were gonna give them some spotlight. They mentioned that on the Talk is Jericho podcast. So here it was. A lot of crazy spots in this match. At one point, Paige hit, I believe it was Paige, who hit a burning hammer onto a ladder that was propped up between the ring apron and the barrel. So I thought that was really interesting. Paige had this bag with him. I guess the boots, the haunted boots that we've seen on Being the Elite were supposed to be in there, or it was something else in there. But he tried to use it, but then Penelope Ford got in there. She started to wrestle with Paige a little bit. She ended up hitting him with a stunner and hit him with an elbow drop off the top rope through a table on the outside. So I thought that was really cool. They fight up on the stage. Paige ended up powerbombing Janela off of the stage through a table. There were 2 tables set up side by side, and Janela only went through one. So kind of scared for him for a little bit there, but I guess he was alright. He's been through worse. Penelope brought out a second bag that had the haunted boots in there. Huge pop for the boots. And then when she went to go pick it up, he ended up giving her a super kick, but then Janela ended up giving him a super kick. Both men fight a little bit more. Eventually a ladder is brought into things, a ladder and a table in the ring. They both climb the ladder, and Hangman Page pulls out a telephone, the same telephone, I guess, that he used to kill Joey Ryan. He was bashing Janela in the head with it, and then he hit him with his rite of passage move off of the ladder through the table on the floor there, not outside the ring, but in the ring through a table. And if you don't know what that move is, it's basically a pile driver type move. So he kind of just put him head first through a table, got the win. After all that craziness, it's pales in comparison to the craziness that happened post-match. They show a video. They were showing a video kind of showing what Paige has been through leading up to this, and they showed an image of Joey Ryan with blood all over his face, dead. So they show that same video again, but they show the entire video, because now you see where Joey's penis becomes erect, and it starts to grow. Then we cut back to the ring, or cut back to the arena, and we see, coming from backstage, that has multiple meanings now, large inflatable penises. Literal walking penises. Men in penis costumes. I cannot make this shit up. Spent $30 on this show, and men dressed up as penises were walking out. Then out came Joey Ryan, played his music. He came out there alive and well. I figured he was still alive, but I thought he would interfere in the match, so he didn't do that. Came out there, used his penis to beat up on Hangman Page, took him down, and then the walking penises picked up Adam Page and took him out of the building. So, yeah, somewhere Jim Cornette saw that and had a stroke, so please check on him. But, yeah, this is the state of professional wrestling. The people loved it. They started a rest in penis chant, which I thought was kind of amusing. So, yeah, very interesting stuff in this match here. Penises. That's all that really needs to be said. Up next, we got the Ring of Honor World Championship match. Flip Gordon taking on the champion, Jay Lethal. Gordon had Brandy Rhodes in his corner because they've been running a story where while Cody has been training, Flip Gordon has been basically a friend to Brandy Rhodes. You can refer to the Kurt Angle, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H love triangle from back in 2000 and see how this friendship will turn out. I'm sure it'll probably go down that route. Jay Lethal came out with Lanny Poffo in his corner because we had the return of Black Machismo from TNA. So they've been running this split personality storyline with Jay Lethal, and we didn't know if we were going to get regular Jay Lethal or Black Machismo, and right from the jump came out with the Macho Man music, the Macho Man gear, and he was playing up the Black Machismo gimmick. So even to the point where he saw Brandy out there and he thought she was Elizabeth. He made her stand in his corner. At one point he brought her into the ring and put her on his shoulders, and just like Macho Man used to do with Liz back in the day, she tapped him on the shoulder, and then suddenly Jay Lethal snapped out of it and regular Jay Lethal was back. So he and Flip Gordon wrestle a little bit more. They have a pretty good match here. Lanny Poffo on the outside, he gets him on the ring apron and taps Jay Lethal back on his shoulder, so Black Machismo comes back out. He hits 3 elbow drops on Flip Gordon, but Flip kicks out of it and starts to hulk up. He starts hulking up and no-selling it and, doing the finger wave and all that stuff. End up hitting him with a Falcon Arrow, which Jay Lethal kicked out of. I believe he hit him with a corkscrew moonsault at one point, which was only good for a 2 count. Then Jay Lethal hit him with a cutter off the top rope, and then hit him with the lethal injection to get the win. So Jay Lethal is still Ring of Honor World Champion. Both men shook hands after the match. When Jay Lethal tried to pull his hand away, Flip pulled him back in, gave him a hug. So much respect from both of these men. And then out comes Bully Ray, who has had a vendetta against Flip Gordon for the past few months in Ring of Honor and got eliminated by him in that Battle Royal on the pre-show. So he comes out to attack both men. He brings out in a table, and then out comes Colt Cabana, who's kind of been the defender of a lot of people Bully Ray has been bullying the past few months. He comes in, and the 3 of them gave him a triple powerbomb through the table. It sounded like the fans booed because, it looked like they were imitating the Shield. By the way, Braun Strowman better not be a fucking heel. I try not to mention WWE, but Braun better not have turned heel. I don't know what they're doing with him, Dolph and Drew, but he better not be a heel. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, they powerbomb through the table, so that was kind of it. I don't know where they're going with this. I think Colt Cabana and Bully Ray are going to have a match at some point. It's just a matter of when. So there's that. Had a first time ever match next with Pentagon Jr. and Kenny Omega. Great match, but I don't want to nitpick, but I did have a few issues with the multiple V triggers we saw in this match, which is a Kenny Omega staple. He uses multiple V triggers. I also had a problem with the use of package pile drivers in this match that were kicked out of I think there was like, what, 3? There was at one point where they were both on the ring apron, and Pentagon was kind of egging Kenny on to give him a V-trigger, and when Kenny went to deliver it, he got caught and ended up getting hit with a package pile driver right there on the ring apron. And so Pentagon gets him back in the ring, goes up top, hits him with a diving foot stomp, and then Kenny kicks out. So, was not too thrilled with that. Then later on, Kenny Omega hit him with a pile driver and I think another V-trigger, but then he kicked out of it, that being Pentagon. Then we get to the spot where he broke Kenny Omega's arm, the infamous arm breaking spot that we see in Lucha Underground, which legitimately breaks people's arms. In this case, I guess it doesn't, outside of Lucha Underground. That or Kenny Omega's a tough son of a bitch. But he basically got his arm broken, got hit with another pile driver, and then still kicked out. So, I'm enjoying this match. It's a good match, but this kicking out of pile drivers, super kicks is one thing, the multiple V-triggers, okay, but pile drivers, this is a move that has been banned in the past. It's banned in WWE. The last time we've seen it, a regular pile driver, was by CM Punk in a match with John Cena in 2013, and when they went backstage, they both got chewed out for it by Vince McMahon because that move is banned. So this is a banned move, which shouldn't be banned, but if you're going to use it, it's to finish off your opponent. Otherwise, don't hit it. But eventually Kenny Omega hit the one-winged angel to get the win. After the match, the lights went out. The commentators were saying, oh, this is the first time show, so, things mess up. Lights turn back on. Everything seems normal, except Pentagon does not look like Pentagon, because Pentagon is clearly a lot thicker and is a lot paler and has a arm tattoo that only one Ayatollah of rock and roll possesses. It was Chris Jericho under the mask. He started to hit Kenny and beat him up, and then hit him with the code breaker, which got a huge pop from the crowd, even though by that point they could tell exactly who it was. But it got a huge reaction. He took off the mask and revealed Pentagon makeup and some makeup around his eyes and all that kind of stuff. And yes, it was Chris Jericho, a man who once upon a time said he would not make appearances in the United States on a wrestling show because he doesn't want to do that to Vince McMahon. He feels that kind of betrays him. But then in recent months, he's kind of backtracked that and has even thrown out there the possibility of working with Impact Wrestling and all that kind of stuff. So, he was not the guest appearance I thought we would get. I was hoping it would be Neville. But, cool to see him. He got on the microphone, told Kenny, see you on the Jericho cruise. We know Chris Jericho's cruise, I believe it's next month. There's going to be a match with him and the Young Bucks. They're, I think Alpha Club or something like that. They're going to take on Kenny Omega, Cody, and either Marty Scurll or Hangman Page. I'm not sure. But there's a big 6-man tag team match on that Jericho cruise that's going to involve Jericho and Omega once again on opposing sides. So that was basically the setup for that. But it was really cool to see Chris Jericho. I definitely did not expect him to be on this show. Up next, we had Okada taking on Marty Scurll. Okada had his traditional Rainmaker garb on. No balloons, unfortunately. So the story behind this match was made, and Okada has been mocking Scurll ever since, calling him basically a cruiserweight, saying his future isn't 205 Live, you can't fight with the heavyweights and all that kind of stuff in New Japan and all that kind of stuff, you're a junior heavyweight, you belong on 205 Live and all that kind of stuff. So Scurll had a mission to beat Okada and prove that he is on that heavyweight level, and I think after this match he basically proved that. One of the best spots of the match was Okada was going for the Rainmaker, and then while going for it, he made the hand gestures 205, which the fans booed. The fans were kind of split early on, but then they started to get really behind Marty Scurll. This was the coming out party for him. So he did the 205 Live hand gesture, and then when he was on 5, Scurll grabbed his finger and did the finger break spot. He bounced off the ropes, about to go for a move, but then Okada caught him with a drop kick. At one point, Okada was going for the Rainmaker again, but it got reversed into a chicken wing. Okada managed to escape it, but then he got right back into a chicken wing. So I thought that was kind of funny. But then he rolled through and got a roll up, but Scurll kicked out of it. Okada got shoved into the referee, so the referee goes down. He's about to go for a Rainmaker, but Scurll has an umbrella, so he kind of exposes the umbrella to distract him, hits him with it, and then Scurll hits his own version of the Rainmaker, but Okada manages to kick out of it. Okada starts to hit Scurll over and over again. Scurll just kind of, is like egging him on, kind of like what Stephen Amell was doing with Daniels earlier in the show, and what Pentagon was doing with Kenny Omega earlier in the show. But he eventually spat in his face, slapped him, all that kind of stuff, tried to break his fingers again, but then Okada hit him with 2 Rainmakers to get the win. So even though Okada won, Marty Scurll still looked impressive by lasting with a guy in the heavyweight division. So hopefully this is a sign that we will get to see him competing in a higher level in New Japan and Ring of Honor and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, take the chance on him. Just remember, keep in mind, Kenny Omega was once a junior heavyweight as well. So, you can't stay in that spot forever. The Young Bucks, for the longest time, were junior heavyweights, and now I think they're still the IWGP heavyweight tag team champions. So, it can happen. And then we get to the main event, 6-man tag team match. The team of Rey Mysterio, Fenix and Bandido taking on Kota Ibushi and Matt and Nick, the Young Bucks. A match like this, probably not the best choice of main event. Like I said, I would have gone with Cody and Nick Aldis. Not that match was better than this one, but I just think the story behind it and the finish to that one probably would have been a better way to end the show than the Young Bucks and Cody and Kota Ibushi winning, which kind of spoils the ending of this match, but it is what it is. Rey Mysterio came out in Wolverine outfit, which I thought was really cool. Early on in the match, we got a face-off between Rey Mysterio and Kota Ibushi, which the fans chanted holy shit for because it was awesome. The thought of Rey Mysterio and Kota Ibushi in a match together sounds incredible. If I could do so, I would take the Rey Mysterio from WCW days and put him up against Kota Ibushi. Give them like 15, 20, 25 minutes, just go out there and tear the fucking house down. That could go down as one of the best matches of all time. Not even exaggerating. But this was a crazy match. A lot of crazy spots all up and down this match. It felt like they were kind of rushing it, but not really too bad. It felt like it should be fast-paced. You got these 6 guys in here. It should have been fast-paced, and it was, and I think it was better off for it. At one point, Ibushi and the Bucks, they were about to hit a triple super kick on, I believe, Bandido, but he ducked it and then hit all 3 of them with a Hurricane Rana. So I thought that was pretty interesting. There was one cool sequence where Rey hit a 619 on Matt Jackson. Then Matt got a Hurricane Rana from Fenix, and then got a reverse Rana from Bandido. And then the rest of them dove on to Nick and Kota. But then eventually, the super kick party started to kick in. No pun intended. Super kicks galore. There was a triple more bang for your buck. Kota Ibushi was involved there too. So there was 2 moonsaults and then a swanton. But Rey and Fenix broke it up, but then they got disposed of, and then they hit a Melcher driver on Bandido to get the win. And as they were signing off, the pay-per-view just kind of cut off. It was at 11:59, and the show kind of cut off there. Sucks that they got cut off, especially if they were planning on doing some big post-match ending storyline. And as I'm reviewing this right now, I stuck on Twitter just to see, just in case anything happened that may not have made air. But apparently all that happened was the Young Bucks just cut a promo talking about how they were literally seconds away from going off the air, so they had to kind of speed up the finish there. But the whole match felt like it was kind of in fast forward mode, but it didn't really hurt it all that much. I still enjoyed it. I just think it probably would have been better served as something in the middle or even an opener. But the opener was perfectly fine. This match was really good. So yeah, and overall this pay-per-view was good. This was a really good show. It sucks that they got cut off kind of abruptly at the end, but they were not just on Ring of Honor pay-per-view or Fight TV, which a lot of people saw it on. They were also on traditional pay-per-view. So you have to go through those rules. You're not WWE. You can't get away with that. But it is what it is. It didn't really hurt the show all that much. Not every single match was perfect on this show. I didn't love the Jay Lethal Flip Gordon match. Stephen Amell and Chris Daniels was pretty sloppy around there. The opener was kind of just okay. And the six-man tag, a good match, but I mean, as a main event, probably wouldn't have gone with that. And I did enjoy Pentagon Jr. and Kenny Omega, but I just was not a fan of the kickouts of Piledrivers and stuff. But overall, this was a really impressive show. Something like this, I hope we can see more often. Guys doing a wrestling show like this, selling out a 10,000 seat arena. I think we can do even more people next time. I'm not saying 20,000, but maybe in time, but maybe, 12,000 or even 15,000, I think could be reasonable, in the future. I was talking to somebody on Twitter about it. They mentioned the Garden. I know the New Japan ROH show in Madison Square Garden on WrestleMania weekend. I think that's going to be a huge, huge success. I'm very happy that I'm going to that show. I'm looking forward to it. Sorry, Takeover, but stuff like that, there's not a doubt in my mind that's going to do well, and it's thanks to a show like this. A show like this is incredible for wrestling. History was made tonight, man. So hopefully disgruntled guys in WWE can watch this and think, man, I can do that. I can leave this company and go do that. So great show. I enjoyed it, and I'm very happy that I was all in. As cheesy as that sounds. So, take care, guys.